The Miami Heat's pursuit of a new superstar to reignite their championship window has hit another roadblock. After missing out on Kevin Durant this past summer, it appears the Heat will also fall short in their long-standing interest in two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. According to ESPN's Shams Charania, the New York Knicks, not the Heat, have emerged as the only preferred landing spot for Antetokounmpo outside of Milwaukee. Heat's fierce rivals led Giannis sweepstakes. Ever since the NBA Draft Combine in mid-May, Alex Saratzis, an Octagon managing director and Antetokounmpo's U.S.-based representative, has fielded rampant interest in Antetokounmpo and conducted serious due diligence on the best possible outside fits, Charania wrote. Several teams were discussed internally, but one emerged as the only place Antetokounmpo wanted to play outside of Milwaukee, the New York Knicks. Charania also reported that the Bucks and Knicks engaged in exploratory conversations over the summer, though the talks never advanced to serious negotiations. The Bucks insisted to the Knicks that they preferred not to move Antetokounmpo, Charania wrote. Milwaukee believes New York did not make a strong enough offer to continue even discussing a trade. That revelation all but confirms that the Heat, who were previously mentioned as a potential suitor, were not in Antetokounmpo's current plans. Heat left searching for stability. At one point last year, CBS Sports reported that Miami was on Antetokounmpo's short list of preferred destinations should he ever request a trade. But those days now feel distant. The Heat have been rebuilding their identity since Jimmy Butler's departure, which left the team in a precarious middle ground, good enough to compete, but not quite a contender. Miami opens the new season with a roster headlined by Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo, Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins, Kel'el Ware, and Nikola Jovic, a group that could still keep them competitive in the Eastern Conference, which has been weakened by major injuries to Jason Tatum and Tyrese Haliburton. The Heat are hoping that continuity, defense, and internal development can keep them afloat while waiting for another star opportunity. Injury and contract questions cloud Miami's start. The optimism took a hit with news that Herro, fresh off his first All-Star appearance, will miss at least 8 weeks due to a foot injury. Herro averaged 23.9 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 5.5 assists last season, emerging as Miami's most reliable perimeter scorer. His absence comes at a brutal time. The Heat will play 6 of their first 8 games on the road, including a tough Western Conference swing that features matchups against the Lakers, Nuggets, and Suns. 11 of their first 15 opponents made the playoffs last season. That stretch will put pressure on Powell, who is expected to shoulder a larger scoring load. Powell, 32, is coming off a breakout year in which he averaged over 20 points per game while shooting 41.9% from three-point range. Powell could be primed for an all-star breakthrough in Miami, NBA.com's Steve Ashburner recently wrote, pointing to the veteran's efficiency and shot creation. Head coach Erik Spoelstra is expected to lean heavily on Powell early in the season. Heat's long odds in the Giannis race. For now, the Heat's best hope of re-entering the Antetokounmpo conversation rests on performance. If Miami surprises the league and establishes itself as a contender again, it could at least earn another look from Giannis if he ever decides to leave Milwaukee. But for the moment, the Heat find themselves on the outside looking in, a familiar position for a franchise that once made a habit of landing superstars. After refusing to part with promising big man Kel'el Ware in their pursuit of Kevin Durant this summer, the Miami Heat may be changing course. According to the Miami Herald's Barry Jackson, the franchise would now be willing to include the 7-footer in a potential trade package for Milwaukee Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo. Where on the table, Adebayo off-limits. Jackson reported that where Miami's 2024 first-round pick and a centerpiece of their youth movement would no longer be off-limits if the Bucks ever make Antetokounmpo available. However, Jackson added that Bam Adebayo remains untouchable in any discussions. If Giannis Antetokounmpo had asked out, the Heat was prepared to make an offer that did not include Bam Adebayo, according to a source, Jackson wrote. But it's unlikely any such offer would have been seriously considered. If Antetokounmpo requests a trade at some point, it remains to be seen if the Heat would ever change its mind about offering Adebayo. Jackson also noted that Antetokounmpo shares the same agent, Octagon managing director Alex Saratzis, as Adebayo, making it unlikely the two players would want to be separated. It's unlikely that the Bucks star would want to join a Heat team without Adebayo, Jackson added. So it's all likely moot. Knicks were Giannis' preferred destination. If Miami hoped to leapfrog into contention for Antetokounmpo, they may already be behind. ESPN's Shams Charania reported that the Bucks and New York Knicks engaged in exploratory trade talks over the summer after Antetokounmpo identified New York as his preferred destination outside Milwaukee. Ever since the NBA Draft Combine in mid-May, Alex Saratzis, Antetokounmpo's U.S.-based representative, has fielded rampant interest and conducted serious due diligence on the best possible outside fits, Charania wrote. Several teams were discussed internally, but one emerged as the only place Antetokounmpo wanted to play outside of Milwaukee, the New York Knicks. Those conversations, however, never developed beyond the preliminary phase. The Bucks insisted to the Knicks that they preferred not to move Antetokounmpo, Charania reported. Milwaukee believes New York did not make a strong enough offer to continue even discussing a trade. Knicks window closes, hope for Miami? Charania later revealed on ESPN's NBA Today that the Knicks' exclusive negotiating window has closed, leaving the door open for other contenders. That window is obviously shut, Charania said. We're not in August anymore, we're now in October. If things reopen during the season with this whole Giannis Antetokounmpo element, that window is no longer exclusive to the Knicks. Other NBA teams will enter the picture. I expect it to go beyond just New York. That development could reignite Miami's interest, though the Heat would still face steep odds in any bidding war that might include the Warriors, Rockets, and Spurs, all teams with deeper draft and young talent reserves. Lessons from the Durant miss. The Heat's reported willingness to include where marks a sharp pivot from their stance during June's Kevin Durant sweepstakes. Charania reported at the time that the Suns engaged both Houston and Miami in trade discussions, but found each team reluctant to part with its top young prospects. The Suns' trade conversations focused on the Rockets and Heat in recent days, Charania wrote in June, but both teams showed an unwillingness to part with young cornerstones such as Jabari Smith Jr. and Reed Shepherd, Houston, and Kel'el Ware, Miami. In a Durant deal, sources said. The Heat made multiple offers for Durant but ultimately turned down the opportunity to place Jamie Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, Haywood Highsmith, the number 20 pick, and other draft assets. After missing out on Durant, Miami appears determined not to repeat the same mistake if Antetokounmpo eventually becomes available. Still, without Adebayo in any package, and given Giannis' past preference for New York, the Heat's chances remain slim. The Miami Heat reportedly interested in making an offer for Milwaukee Bucks all-star Giannis Antetokounmpo that did not include Bam Adebayo. As the Heat enter their post-Jimmy Butler era in 2025-26 and continue to monitor a potential trade request from Antetokounmpo, could Miami pull off a deal without Adebayo? The offer was most likely not taken seriously, but could be the potential structure of a future offer, according to the Miami Herald's Barry Jackson. If Giannis Antetokounmpo had asked out, the Heat was prepared to make an offer that did not include Bam Adebayo, according to a source, Jackson reported. But it's unlikely any such offer would have been seriously considered. If Antetokounmpo requests a trade at some point, it remains to be seen if the Heat would ever change its mind about offering Adebayo. But it's unlikely that the Bucks star would want to join a Heat team without Adebayo, with whom he shares an agent. So it's all likely moot. How the Bucks fare throughout the first half of the upcoming season should dictate how Antetokounmpo, who has been transparent about his feelings toward winning a title anywhere, feels about his future in Milwaukee. At the same time, the Heat will have to find its offensive continuity in their first full season without Butler since 2018-19. How Heat offense must evolve in post-Jimmy Butler era. With Tyler Herro missing the start of the regular season, Norman Powell hopes to step up for the Heat as a focal point of their offense. Powell talked about the impact of playing alongside someone like Jimmy Butler and the ripple effect of how a team's offense evolves once that player has moved on, per the Miami Herald's Anthony Chang. When you have a ball-dominant player like Jimmy, who is here, you have to play at his pace. It was working, Jovic said, according to Chang. I know basketball in the NBA has transitioned to more transition basketball. But if you have a guy like that who can get you to the top with that pace, you have to play slow. This year, it's just easier. You don't have a guy who's ball dominant like that. So, we just got to find a way to play faster. The Heat lost their second consecutive preseason game in a 126-118 defeat to the Magic on Saturday.